Floyd kind of alluded to in the introductions, you got the B team here today, but I'll do my best. Bob is this incredible man that is so, we're in the midst of startup and doing our commercial demonstration. And so but we want to share what we're doing, and we're really excited about the hydrogen economy. And it's such a broad topic. I've kind of focused everything down today to sort of fuel cell vehicles, because the major entry and the greatest benefit to the environment and everything is with hydrogen going into fuel cell vehicles, because almost 50% of the man-created carbon emissions are from transportation. And so it's the low-hanging fruit where lots can be done with very little impact and on financial impacts if we can get to the kinds of conditions that we think we're going to be able to develop. So in front of you right now is the reformer reactor. You put a catalyst material in the bottom slits, and then hot steam and hot methane are injected into that. And there's an endothermic reaction that creates hydrogen and carbon monoxide. And then it goes through more processing with more water, and it becomes hydrogen and carbon dioxide. And then carbon dioxide is expelled in the waste gas. But it's this creates large amounts of hydrogen. And the size of this disc that you're looking at right now, it's about the size of a dinner plate, and it's about 3/4 of an inch thick. So give you a perspective on what you're seeing here. And there are some other pictures as we go. But I'm going to spend most of my time talking about hydrogen vehicles and battery vehicles. I have basically four quick topics. Elon Musk has gone out and said that electric vehicles, that fuel cell vehicles will never take hold, that battery vehicles are the answer, and we're going to sort of look at that assertion. Then we're going to talk about battery electric vehicles and how they compare to fuel cell vehicles, and what the future of fuel cell vehicles look like. And then finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about, as you would say, bragging, about what STARS is doing, and kind of give you an idea of how we're moving forward with a startup company to make hydrogen available to the industry. So first of all, here's Elon Musk, and the battery electric vehicles are all represented here in that left-hand side of this chart. And you can see that there's a broad array of companies, and there's more than this even, but I wanted to leave some space. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see almost all the same names of companies doing hydrogen development or actually building hydrogen vehicles. So the idea that there's only going to be battery vehicles does not appear to be shared by all the major industry. And so I think Elon Musk is not going to make it. But there's a reason why that both are going to happen. And this graphic that I have right here will help you understand that. Over on the left, you can see that's market share going up. And on the bottom, it's vehicle range going over. And in the blue are battery electric vehicles. And you can see that the battery electric vehicles will dominate in short range markets. And that's because they're efficient, they're low cost to operate, and it's perfect for getting around town. But if you want to go long distances, like a trip to Seattle and back, you can't do it as a short trip just over and back. You'd have to leave time to charge a battery. And so as the range goes out, the delays that are required in order to continue your trip go longer. And then the green chart shows how fuel cell electric vehicles and how their market share will increase on the long haul applications. And that's because the fuel is quick, fueling is very quick. And the other major aspect is the longer you want to go with the battery electric vehicle, the more weight you have to have in batteries. The longer you want to go in hydrogen, you just have to have a larger tank. And so it doesn't add weight. And the weight factor is one of the biggest problems with battery electric vehicles. And there's some others that I'll talk about here in the next slide. So the pros and cons of battery electric vehicles. If you own a Tesla, you know that it doesn't cost much to operate that vehicle. If for 100 kilowatt hours in our district, in our local area, it's probably more like $8. But in general, it's around $10 to fully charge that battery in the Tesla, and you can go almost 300 miles. And so that's like 3.5 cents a mile for the fuel cost, which is very, very good. And so I'm not here to downplay electric vehicles. I think they're marvelous, and they have a really good niche. They have very high acceleration. You know, you don't have all that machinery that you have in an internal combustion engine, and electric motors have high torque. And so when you accelerate those, if you've seen any of the advertisings, you know that it's like being in a rocket ship when you're operating an battery electric vehicle. There's also because they're not very complex, there's a drivetrain is pretty much the motor. There's a lot less maintenance on these. And so I think the life cycle cost of operating electric vehicles will be lower than internal combustion engines. And they don't have any carbon footprint. So every electric vehicle on there is reducing the carbon going into the atmosphere, which is a positive thing. There's the final piece is that to get the infrastructure in place for battery electric vehicles, it's relatively low cost because you just need a power station where you can connect the charging. The main reasons why electric vehicles are not the perfect solution for everything is that they are range limited, and that the vehicle weight becomes a real problem, especially if you're operating a fleet of trucks or ships and aircraft. You don't want to have all that weight on board because weight means money, and you want to reduce the cost you want to maximize your profits, and so that won't work. The other major drawback has to do with the time it takes to charge. With a fuel cell vehicle, it takes minutes, and with a battery, it takes up to hours. There's two real important limitations when you get to large scale production of battery electric vehicles. The first one is lithium. There's only a limited supply of lithium in the world. There is not enough lithium to make all the batteries that would be required to make all the cars battery-driven cars. And the other major impact is on the grid. I'm going to do some quick arithmetic here. If you look at the 100 kilowatts, and now we have 1 million vehicles that each need 100 kilowatts, then that means you need 1,000 megawatts of power to charge those batteries. And in fact, in the United States, there's not 1 million vehicles, there's 200 million. So the amount of power you need to do that is incredible. And as Elon Musk even says, if we're going to go to EVs, we're going to have to double the world's electricity supply. And so there's a lot of costs and energy that has to be developed that hasn't been developed so far. Now, with electric fuel cell vehicles, in many ways, electric fuel cell vehicles will feel a lot like internal combustion engine cars in the way you drive them. Because they'll be lighter, but they'll have all the benefits of the range that a gas-powered vehicle has, and they're also rapid charging. So you don't have to change your lifestyle to operate a fuel cell vehicle like you have to do with an electric vehicle if you're taking it for long trips. If you're using it for around the neighborhoods and going to work and back and shopping, it's going to be very convenient. But if you wanted to make a trip, trips is where they kind of fall apart. And the carbon footprint, fuel cell vehicles use the fuel cell takes the hydrogen and it creates water as a byproduct, and so it just gives water vapor. The cons with it, and why you're not seeing hydrogen fuel cell vehicles everywhere today, is the high cost of hydrogen and the limited availability of hydrogen. Now, the high cost in California, where fuel cell vehicles are rolled out, the cost is about $15 a kilogram. I want to help you kind of put that into context. A kilogram will take an electric vehicle 60 miles. So divide that by two, $7.50, and then say that you're driving a standard vehicle that gets 30 miles per gallon. That would be $7.50 a gallon gasoline. So that's why hydrogen fuel cell vehicles have not caught on, which gives us an opportunity as someone that can make hydrogen cheaper than what it's currently being made at. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I want you to understand that these are projections from the Department of Energy. Over on the left, it's got tens of thousands of vehicles by 2025. In 2035, it's in millions of vehicles. And by 2050s, it's in tens of millions of vehicles. So there are three scenarios here, and this is put out by something called the National Hydrogen Scenario. And it has different assumptions. And so this is a conservative assumption on the left. And then the middle is kind of a medium. And then the high is with national expansion. You see the orangish yellow color is in California. The blue is in states where they have zero emission vehicle standards. And the green is the rest of the country where there aren't necessarily any emphasis on getting into hydrogen. So that gives you a sense of this is growing very, 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 very quickly. And from 25 to 35, that's 170 times the expansion. So it's going very, very rapidly is what we expect to see. So the market opportunity, the drivers for hydrogen are greenhouse gas emissions. And with the recent elections, we know that there's going to be a whole lot more effect on our day-to-day lives, and they're going to be emphasizing the greenhouse gas emission concerns. There are regulatory and social pressures to get off fossil fuels, and fossil fuels that have been used for gasoline are limited, and so it's kind of good to actually save that fuel for other real valuable products that can be made with petrochemicals. We've had in the past foreign dependency, and that's been a problem because of our oil use. Right now we're in an oil surplus, and we're actually sending oil outward, but it becomes a natural national security concern if we have a dependency on oil. And then the other piece is that battery-driven vehicles aren't the best solution for all aspects of this, and so that creates an opportunity. And again, the challenge is it's too high and there's a lack of infrastructure. What we're doing with STARS is we're introducing low-cost, clean, affordable hydrogen, and we're doing that by using these microchannel devices. And over here, you can see the picture of our microchannel. That's the whole reactor, and above the reactor is a high temperature heat exchanger, and that's just for thermal efficiency. You preheat the gases coming in, and then with the exhaust gases going out. And but you can see there's a scale there. It's about 10 inches in diameter, and it's about 3/4 of an inch thick. And this device here will make 35 kilograms of hydrogen a day. And 6 of these in a skid will produce 200 kilograms a day, which will provide hydrogen for 300 vehicles. Our approach is the traditional approach for hydrogen has been central production, large scale, getting the economics of scale. Our approach is to take and use distributive hydrogen on site, which means there'll be mass production of hydrogen systems. These systems that you're seeing here are additively manufactured. It's like a Xerox process where they put down a layer at a time, and when you're done, they use lasers and metal powder, and they make these components. Our components then are much cheaper to manufacture, and we'll be able to mass produce them and put the systems together by doing that. Our modular design allows for, it streamlines the regulatory licensing of it. It also allows the business person to take a skid and get started, because they don't need 1,500 kilograms today. They can get by with 200 kilograms to start the market, and then they can add skids to increase the capacity to that. And our selling price for hydrogen would be in about $5 per kilogram, which, converting that to gallons of gasoline prices, that's about $2.50 a gallon, based on our projections when for the first prototype that we're doing. So we've set up our company is basically going to stay kind of lean and mean, and we're going to outsource a lot of the technology development and the building. We have right now, we have contracts in CRADA, which are cooperative research and development agreements with Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. We also have Highline Engineering. They're a fabricating and engineering company located over by the Richland Airfield. And then Concept Systems is doing some control work for us. Our first systems are going down to California. We have kind of 3 critical steps that we need to take to be successful. And the first is our commercial demonstration. Our systems are currently being manufactured, assembled, and we should have those out in the March-April timeframe, where they'll go down to Southern California. Southern California Gas will be providing our hydrogen to a transit authority down there, and we will be doing a cooperative project with the Linde gas company, which is a multi-billion-dollar gas supplier company. I think they're interested in our technology for their skids. We're going to be taking orders probably in fall, after we've had a chance to demonstrate the commercial version that we're putting together, and then we're hoping to go into production in early 2020. And when we get to that point, once we get to about 100 units per year, the cost per kilogram goes from about $5 a kilogram down to $3 a kilogram. Okay, so we think that with the hydrogen systems, that's the future, and what we're trying to do is hasten the introduction of fuel cell vehicles, because this is a chicken and the egg problem. What comes first, the hydrogen or the demand for hydrogen? And you can't have a demand for hydrogen if you can't get the hydrogen. And so this is part of the solution, is to be able to use the existing infrastructure, which is the natural gas grid and the water system and electrical grid, to make hydrogen wherever you need it. Then you don't have to lay pipe and you don't have to do all those things. And as that market gets better and better, alternative ways of doing it, I'm sure, will come about. But this also gives you an idea of the diversity and the players that are involved. These are all members of the California Hydrogen Business Council, and they're all interested in working on this. We don't see any of this in our day-to-day lives. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to share this with you, is there's a lot going on, but it's not going on in the public view so much. The year-over-year increase in the hydrogen market in 2018 to 2019 was 40%. With that, I'm interested in comments, and by the way, if I am excited to answer any questions and talk to you. If we don't have time today, then we can do it. Please feel free to contact me.